Good morning. Today we are going to be talking about being connected virtually with limited screen time. Whether learning in person or virtual, children need supportive interactions with their peers and staff, encourage engagement during instruction. So when you're doing your live meets, make sure that the children are actually engaged. I know in some of the meets that I have attended, the children roam off, they're doing something else in the background. So if it's yourself and your instructional assistants, maybe one person can just kind of be sure to watch them and give a prompt when they're not engaged in the actual instruction. Autonomy should be appropriate for the grade and age. Make learning fun. And I do see a lot of that taking place during the meets, whether it's an exercise movement during your lesson, nice video. I have seen that the children are very engaged when those things happen. They love the music, anything music that goes on during the instruction. I like to see that. And some of them are dancing, and that's a great thing to make the learning fun for them. Students should be comfortable learning, and they are also able to face social and cognitive challenges. So set ways for them to embrace what may not be easy for them. Types of delivery that is non-traditional: individual video sessions, phone calls with student and or parent according to the age and need. So of course, if you have a smaller child, you need to be sure that a parent is nearby to help them stay on task and to answer any questions you may have. Use a management system to keep track of the students' time that they are logged in and working. The student is giving hard copies of work in a non-traditional setting that is not digital. So we do have the choice boards that parents are able to use when they are not logged on to the virtual learning, and not so much for preschool, but hard copies can be used. So in this case, maybe a hard copy of the choice board for the parents to have at home to use instead of virtual learning. Making distance learning work in preschool. Follow the child's lead as they play and learn at home. So if you're doing like an individual session, kind of let them lead you and just watch what they're doing and take notes and observe what's happening when they're learning. And they will give you plenty to see while that's happening. Do not require children to learn entirely on screen. Find alternate ways to teach them. So again, scavenger hunts, maybe virtual, like the virtual field trips, or even just a field trip in their neighborhood somewhere outside of their home would be something good where they're still learning and it's not on the screen all the time. Encourage family participation and guide them through learning at home. So just finding activities that their families can work with them on. It gives them that time to be together at home. Even inviting extended family in, such as like cousins, when they need the peer interaction, grandparents or babysitters, just other ways to have everybody involved, because it really works well when you have a family connection. Stay in contact with families to show you are invested in their well-being. So even though you may speak with them during the live meet individually or your whole group meetings, it's still good to reach out to them maybe once a week just to show that you care, you're there, and they are not in this alone. I've had some parent feedback where they do say that they just feel like they're lost. They do not feel like they have support outside of the meets with the teachers. So, whether it's a phone call, a text, if they're communicating during text, email, my son's teacher mails a postcard every so often, and that would be something really nice for the kids to get the postcard in the mail and have someone to read it to them. So just looking at some other ways that you can reach out to the families to let them know that you are supporting them during this time and that they are not alone. You can use calls, texts, emails, if you have a social media page, and virtual meetings to stay in contact with your students. You would also want to be sure that an adult is present to ensure quality experiences when you are virtual. I have seen some meets where I didn't see a parent while the virtual learning was taking place. And I mean, they may have been like in another room or something, but I would just encourage the parents to be where you could see them to help. And of course, there are some that attend like while they're in the car, and that's a given. If you see the child in the car seat, if the parent is driving the car, we hope, as long as the child's not driving the car. So that will be something good. Keep the schedule consistent. And most of my teachers I see do exactly that. You know, it's the same time, the meets are the same times. And I think the consistency is good for the child because we want to keep them in the routine as good as possible. Balance screen time and personal contacts, so it's not just screen time all the time. Thank you.
When thinking about working with our families and preschoolers in distant and virtual learning, we often immediately think about using technology. But in reality, we know that using too much technology is not appropriate. We need to consider the most appropriate way to have both opportunities available. When we think about connecting with our families using technology, it's a must. But I want to mention some things that are very important components to have in place first. First, we want to make sure we establish regular communication with our families and children. It is very important that communication occurs with them at least once a week, if not more. We can communicate with them through phone calls, text messages, emails, Facebook posts, or even virtually by having a virtual meeting. We want to make sure that we have a regular scheduled communication plan with our families during this time. The more connection we can make with our families and students, the better. Also, when we provide virtual meetings or activities, it is important that we do so at a time our adults and families can do that with their child. Using technology and making it the best experience for our young learners involves our parents being involved with their child at this time. We want to make sure that we schedule a consistent schedule of events to support families and children while they are at home. We want to make sure we include them and we schedule them at times that is appropriate for the family. Adults are the key to our virtual learning time being a success. Our young learners often have trouble navigating the technology. For example, they might have trouble muting and unmuting themselves when appropriate, or unmuting themselves when they want to share. And this is key to them being involved in the whole group experience. The parents' presence can also help keep active learners engaged. And they can also help encourage a shy or reluctant learner. We also know it's very powerful to engage children in technology, but we also want to limit their screen time. Again, we need to remember for our young children, it is not developmentally appropriate to use large amounts of screen time. It should only be used in short segments, no more than 20 minutes. Keep in mind, 20 minutes. In keeping with this, we want to make sure the screen time is balanced with active learning and some hands-on experiences to extend the child's learning or follow up on a current theme that is being taught. This is the same concept as taking brain breaks. After a child sits for so long, we need to get them up and get them moving. Another way we might use screen time is by setting up virtual small groups with our children. We all know that learning happens best in a small group setting. By having virtual small group time, it is a very useful use of screen time that we can work with a child with IEP goals, collect IEP data, or perhaps differentiating learning opportunities for students that might need that. One thing important to consider when setting up the small groups is to think about the students' social, emotional development. We want to make sure the students have an opportunity to say hello to each other or interact and greet each other. Just like when we are face-to-face in the classroom, this opportunity gives students a sense of belonging to the group and connected to those around them. It helps students build relationships with one another and with their teachers. The teachers should provide students the time to share with the group about things they are interested in, or maybe things they did over the weekend. This helps students realize that they have things in common with the other students in their group. It's not only important to allow children to share and ask questions, but it's equally important to allow parents the same opportunity to share and ask questions. Another thing that is important to consider when setting up small groups is to ensure that the learning that's taking place during the small group time is a skill or an activity that's aligned with our Kentucky Early Childhood Standards. We want to continue to use the curriculum and our pacing guides, even through teaching virtually. Our curriculum is aligned with the Early Childhood Standards. And by using the curriculum faithfully when teaching virtually, we can assure that the children will be right on target when we return back to the classroom. A great use of technology is during story time. Stories that are tied to our theme or our curriculum can be read live, or they can be pre-recorded. If they are pre-recorded, this gives families the opportunity to view these stories with their child at a time that might be more convenient to their schedule. We also want to make sure that we host virtual family activities where students and families can be present at one time in a whole group setting. Family activities should be very engaging. We all know that music is magical. So we want to make sure we include music during this time, and maybe dance or gross motor activities, fun activities to get them all engaged. These family activities are the same concept of us having family engagement days.
Suggestions and ideas for remote learning. Begin session with friendly dialogue. Acknowledge each child by name. Show enthusiasm with a positive effect. Be sure to open the group, letting the students know how important they are to you. Be sure to be enthusiastic about them being in your classroom. Say things like, "I'm so glad to see you," just as if they were in person in your physical classroom. Keep the content engaging by capturing and maintaining the interests of children. Make sure you scan the laptop for non-engaging students. You may have to move on to something else. Remember to be flexible. Involve students in leadership roles. This could be vital to their interests, whether it is a student or teacher-led lesson. This might be a good time to allow a student to lead the Good Morning song or start out saying the letters of the alphabet. Involving students in leadership roles could help with comprehension and self-esteem. Establish consistent procedures and routines. Don't forget about those procedures and routines. These foster connections and aid in the development of academic skills, social skills, and vocabulary enrichment. Offer enjoyable and engaging experiences. Let's make the virtual experience fun and enjoyable. Find out what each student is interested in and incorporate it into your lessons. And relate lesson contents to students' lives. Don't forget to make connections to kids' home lives, such as reading a book about a pet or a baby sister or a baby brother, saying, "Oh, Jakari has a new puppy," or "Gianni is a big brother now. He has a new baby sister, just like in the book we're reading." You can even allow the student to have front and center about the subject. Make sure to mute everyone else so that the student can have the shining light on them. At-home activities for preschoolers. Develop a delivery plan for ensuring children receive a home materials kit. Establish a distribution method of delivery. Establish rules such as a place and a time and how things will be distributed, keeping social distancing in mind. Materials should provide opportunities that support virtual learning, adult engagement, and independent activities. Encourage parents to participate in our parent engagement days. And don't forget about those independent activities on the choice boards. Offer numerous play opportunities with manipulatives, such as sorting blocks or cubes or shoes or clothes, counting the toys as they put them away. Use items from our preschool bags for magnetic numbers and letters and some of the manipulatives that have been put into the bag. Model and offer assistance to families for developing communication and critical thinking skills to effectively enhance student learning. You can remind parents to ask their students open-ended questions to enhance student learning. Those who, what, when, where, and why questions. This could stimulate conversations between the student and their caregiver. The only thing the caregiver has to do is just listen. Also include outside play for intentional teaching. Setting up a place to explore leaves after gathering them. How about gardening? Exploring butterflies and even bugs. Using old paintbrushes and water for sidewalk painting. Just reading outside could enhance learning. All these things can stimulate a child's imagination, curiosity, and reasoning skills. Encourage suggestions to assist caregivers in developing daily expectations and procedures for participating in virtual classrooms. When you have projects for kids to complete, encourage the parents to have a space at the table or on the floor for the student to have their own space. Remember those daily expectations. Eyes are watching, ears are listening, voice is quiet. All those expectations are very important for everyone, and we can encourage all of our parents to help us with all the expectations so that their child can have a wonderful time learning virtually.
Sometimes it can be helpful to know what other communities are doing with NTI. Today, we will look at 3 other school districts in Kentucky who have given their permission to share methods they are currently using. The first is Daviess County. Daviess County prepares printable take-home packets. These packets are broken down with activities to complete during the week. One of the activities suggests for parents to read 2 books, and then questions are provided to allow for the read-alouds to be meaningful and purposeful. For example, the questions may include strategies for clarifying new word meanings, prompting children to compare and contrast characters and events, encouraging problem solving, making connections, or just drawing their attention to the functions and features of print. Any one of these are methods for building key literacy and language skills. Other school readiness skills are included to promote mathematical thinking, social emotional learning, gross and fine motor development, writing experiences, and self-help skills. Multiple weeks are shared at one time with school readiness skills presented in a sequential manner to allow one concept to build on another. This is a method for families who don't have internet service to engage their child in the educational process. Okay, let's look at Hopkins County. Hopkins County offers to families an interactive daily schedule of activities where each day contains specific tasks to be completed on that day. Each day has a question of the day for the children to answer. The documentation from this question can be collected for assessment purposes and used to guide instruction. Read-alouds and activities are provided as YouTube videos. Demonstrations of how to present a lesson are provided by teachers with short clips for children and parents. If parents are trying to limit screen time, this is an option. Parents can view the demonstration and then provide the instruction from the teacher's recommendation. Educating parents with methods for teaching their children ensures they are teaching with developmental appropriateness. The role of helping parents to help their children during NTI is critical to the academic success of students. Assisting parents in developing routines, learning how to keep their child focused and on task, and supporting instruction at home are a few of the challenges educators face with building partnerships with families. Next is Murray Independent. Murray Independent has a daily lesson plan where families are given options with activities to choose from. Offering choices that lead to the same results allows families to have some control and provides flexibility. Each domain will offer several assignments for this family to select from for completing. This method is not as rigid and can address the different learning styles of children. Children who respond better to active learning can fulfill the assignment that supports movement. Children needing a hands-on approach may find manipulatives more conducive to learning. This is just a brief overview of how 3 other counties in Kentucky are addressing NTI. Messages in a backpack. Okay, so on the screen is another link to NAEYC with some great activities for some interactive learning. Messages in a backpack are documents that can be printed and sent home, or you could just provide the link to families. They provide practical tips and innovative ideas to support young children's learning. The articles are presented in different languages to better fit the needs of your families, as well as a wide range of topics. It is important when developing your lessons to be mindful of Kentucky early childhood standards and using the JCPS approved early childhood curriculum. It is important that families are part of the team when providing instruction and documenting the progress children are making.
Learning activity resources for early childhood families. PBS offers activities for weekly virtual learning. They provide a lot of resources that you can get to work with your children at home. Um, they have stories and just all types of activities that can be used at home with children. Okay. The next one is KET. And KET provides weekly lessons and activities that are printable and can be sent home to your students. They have themes with activities and questions. One in particular is a nature walk through their neighborhood. The kids can do with their parents. With and it provides activities and things for them to look for as they go along their nature walk. There are a large variety of activities and printables that children can use, that you can use with your children, and these also can be used along with your the curriculum that you are using, and they have different themes also. The next one is PNC, and PNC, their lessons are pretty much prepackaged, but they have printable materials in there that can be sent home with children also. They have a list of resources that go along with each lesson. The lessons are also provided in other languages. Want me to go on? Okay, this concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your participation.